The 10 plagues of Egypt occurred when the Israelites were held as captives under the Egyptians. They were suffering and cried out to God. So God sent Moses to lead them out of Egypt. Moses got to Egypt and talked to Pharaoh to let the Israelites go, but Pharaoh refused. Because of Pharaoh's refusal, God sent and used the 10 plagues to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. 1. Water is turned into blood. The first plague of Egypt was when the water of the river Nile was turned into blood. This great river was the main source of life and water for the people of Egypt. The plague caused great problems in the land. There was a drought, and all the fishes in the river died. God had sent Moses alongside Aaron to the river Nile with a staff. Aaron struck the river with the staff, and then the water turned into blood. As this happened, a stream of blood flowed all through Egypt, and the people didn't have water to drink. This first plague lasted for about 1 week, yet despite this great disaster, King Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. God did this to show Pharaoh that he was God, the one true God Yahweh with his people, and although it happened and Pharaoh saw this great disaster, his heart was still hardened towards the Israelites and didn't let them go. God said, "By this you shall know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will strike the water that is in the Nile with the staff that is in my hand, and it will be turned to blood. The fish that are in the Nile will die, and the Nile will become foul, and the Egyptians will find difficulty in drinking water from it." Exodus 7:2. Plague of frogs. The second plague that God brought upon the Egyptians was the frog invasion. It was extremely horrific and terrifying. Aaron stretched his hand over the waters of the Egyptians, and frogs spread all around the land of Egypt. These frogs were everywhere, according to God's declaration against the Egyptians. "I will smite all your territory with frogs. So the rivers shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into your house, in your bedroom, on your bed, into the houses of your servants, on your people, into your ovens, and your kneading bowls. And the frogs shall come upon you, on your people, and all your servants." Exodus 8:2-4. Everywhere the Egyptians went, they were met with a crowd of frogs. At this point, Pharaoh felt frustrated and he was overwhelmed. He told Moses and Aaron to pray to God to turn away the frogs. He promised that if the frogs were taken away, he would let the Israelites go. God removed his frogs, however. Pharaoh didn't go through with his part of the deal, so despite that God freed them from the frogs, his heart was still hardened and the Israelites were left in slavery. 3. The plague of lice. The Lord told Moses to tell Aaron to stretch out his rod and strike the duct of the land, that the dust would become lice all through the land. So the third plague that befell the people of Egypt is the plague of lice. Aaron struck the dust with his staff, and a stream of lice swarmed across the whole of Egypt. The people were disturbed and distressed by the lice. No matter where they went, the lice were there. Despite these, Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go. Lice were upon every living thing in Egypt, upon the animals and people. 4. Plague of flies. The fourth plague is the plague of flies. It seemed to continue the invasion from the previous plague of lice. When Pharaoh kept refusing to let God's people go, God sent a swarm of flies all through the land of Egypt. The whole of Egypt was filled with these flies. The only land that was left out was the land of Goshen, where the people of Israel were dwelling, who was according to God's declaration. "If you will not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies on you and your servants, on your people and into your houses. The houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground on which they stand. And in that day I will set apart the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, so that you may know that I am the Lord." Exodus 8:21-22. 5. Plague of livestock. The next plague was the plague of livestock, also called the plague of pestilence. This plague killed all the domestic animals in the land of Egypt, and usually in those ancient times, most people's livelihood was dependent on livestock. As the plague had killed all the animals, their source of income must have been greatly affected. While all their animals died, those of the Israelites remained alive. At this point, Pharaoh still refused to let go of the Israelites. "Let my people go, that they may serve me. For if you refuse to let them go, and still hold them, behold, the hand of the Lord will be on your cattle in the field, on the horses, on the donkeys, on the camels, on the oxen, and on the sheep, a very severe pestilence. And the Lord will make a difference between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Exodus 9:1-4. 6. The plague of boils. The sixth plague that came upon the people of Egypt is the plague of boils. This plague is one of the most disgusting and goosebumps. The Egyptians had all their bodies broken with boils. The boils were all over them, and the pain was very unbearable. Not only did the boils affect the Egyptians, but it also affected all their animals. Yet the Israelites remained untouched. They weren't affected by the boils. It happened when Moses and Aaron took some ashes and scattered it towards the sky while Pharaoh was present. So the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Take for yourselves handfuls of ashes from a furnace, and let Moses scatter it toward the heavens in the sight of Pharaoh. And it will become fine dust in all the land of Egypt, and it will cause boils that break out in sores on man and beast throughout all the land of Egypt." Exodus 9. 7. The plague of hail. The seventh plague was hail when the Lord said to Moses to stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, on man, on the beast, and every herb of the field, throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched out his rod toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and fire darted to the ground. And the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. Exodus 9. This hail that fell upon the Egyptians was nothing like the hail of this present day. The hail was numerous destructive balls of ice that left no living thing alive or untouched. Everyone who touched died. Some hid inside under some shelter, and those were the ones who were saved. This time again, the land of Goshen, where the Israelites dwelled, was left untouched. This plague disturbed the Pharaoh greatly, and so he acknowledged his deeds and told Moses that he would leave the people to go if God stopped the plague. God stopped it. However, just like before, the Pharaoh wasn't ready to keep to his bargain of the deal. He still didn't let the Israelites go. 8. The plague of locust. Once again, Moses and Aaron went to see King Pharaoh to let the Israelites go, but he still didn't agree. At this point, Moses warned King Pharaoh that even greater suffering would come upon Egypt if he kept disobeying God. Moses left Pharaoh and lifted his arms to heaven, and a great wind brought a swarm of locusts into Egypt. The swarm was so great that it blocked out the sun. The insects wrath great destruction to the whole land. They fed on every tree and everything that was left in the land of Egypt after the hail. Getting frustrated, King Pharaoh begged Moses and Aaron to end the plague. Moses prayed, and a wind from the west drove the locusts away. Yet again, as Pharaoh's usual attitude, he didn't let the Israelites go. 9. Plague of darkness. In the ninth plague, a cloak of darkness was spread upon Egypt. This darkness lasted for 3 days. The darkness came upon the land of Egypt when Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven as God had commanded him. Exodus 10. The Egyptians were scared, and they shivered and trembled in gear, because not even a single ray of light was seen in the land. However, the light in the land of Goshen remained, and the Israelites continued as normal. Pharaoh begged Moses, however he wasn't willing to give freedom to the Israelites, and so Moses left after he had warned Pharaoh that a final plague will befall them, and that it would be disastrous, that in the middle of the night, God would kill all the firstborns of both humans and animals, and only the Israelites would survive the plague. 10. The plague of firstborn. Moses told Pharaoh that God has said that about the time of midnight he will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the animals. Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as was not like it before, nor shall be like it again. But again none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Exodus 11. Once midnight came, every firstborn in the land of Egypt was killed, even the firstborn son of Pharaoh. The Israelites put blood over their doorpost, as God had commanded them, and so death passed over them. This is known as the Passover. The Egyptians mourned greatly that Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron, and told them that the Israelites should go and take away the wrath of God from the land. Immediately Pharaoh told them the Israelites exited quickly, as they had been preparing to leave Egypt since.